Welcome once again to the Gravesyard. I'm Cody and I'll be your graveskeeper this evening. Today we're looking at Treevenge, a 2008 Canadian horror flick where the trees get revenge on people. That's really it, it's like 15 minutes, so let's get into it. The film opens with an upward panning shot overseeing a vast, lush forest of fir trees, but the calm is soon broken by a group of vicious, axe-wielding maniacs known as Canadians.
Come on, you pieces of meat! We got work to do!
They waste no time subjugating the poor trees, which they seem to have a fetish for chopping up or burning despite their desperate attempts to stay alive.
Piece of motherfucking cock-licking asswipe, God, yes! Oh, I wish I stayed in school! Just to deal with this crap!
I'm like 90% sure that dude just tripped and ad-libbed that line, but it's pretty golden nonetheless. The trees that do survive are shipped off to be sold as Christmas trees.
Welcome, you piles of garbage.
Fuck out of here! What am I supposed to do with this spindly little fucker?
I literally looked up the IMDb page for this film just to make sure that wasn't Gilbert Gottfried. It isn't. And now we meet the protagonists of our film, the McMichael family, shopping for a Christmas tree, and the daughter apparently has very high standards for fir needles and wood.
How about this guy?
Daddy, that one's ugly.
Okay. Plenty more to choose from.
Eventually, they settle on our antagonist for the film, Tree, which one of the workers really sells.
It's a real beauty.
Yeah.
Wait.
At this point, I just assume that Tree is covered in some kind of deadly nerve agent. They bring Tree home despite his protestations and slowly torture him by screwing him into the Christmas tree stand.
Honey, it's beautiful.
They then add insult to injury by decorating Tree, or trying in the case of the wife, who can't quite seem to figure out how tinsel works, but that's okay, it's the thought that counts. Later that night, the news is counting down a tree lighting ceremony hosted by a dude who kinda looks like James Roll from AVGN.
And who said trees were just good for firewood? This is certainly a magical moment for lighting everyone's hearts for the best Christmas ever!
Is there any municipality in the Western world that celebrates a countdown to Christmas with fireworks? Plus, isn't the tree lighting ceremony usually a few weeks in advance and typically, not risk setting the town on fire? Whatever. Anyways, they show two other households also watching the ceremony. Two girls in a trailer and a couple making out. Also, this guy who's making sure his tree will slide into its base properly. Anyways, moving swiftly along. Fast forward to the next morning, and the McMichael family is opening presents right before disaster strikes.
Open another one, bud. Okay, open it up. Show Dad. What is it?
Look, I got a chainsaw! No! Don't look at me! I'm gonna die!
You've got to wonder why Tree went for the daughter first. I mean, the son got a chainsaw. It's kind of obvious where he's heading. I don't know, maybe it was a lumberjack Barbie that she got. Anyways, the father attempts to save his daughter, but what he doesn't know is Tree's old job was doing motion capture for the trees in Ninja Gaiden. The girl is killed, and then her face explodes. At this point, I once again left to check the IMDb page just to see if Sam Raimi helped make this. He didn't. Well, our main protagonists are dead, so let's move on to the two girls in the trailer. feel like they would have noticed that. So at this point, the movie starts putting guys in tree suits, and it's honestly fantastic. Wait, these two are still making out? When we first saw them, the news was counting down to what I assume was midnight. The sun is out, and it's next morning, so these guys have been making out for like 8 hours. Impressive, I guess.
Open some presents?
No! It's Christmas! I just want to fuck!
Anyway, the couple gets murdered by their own tree, but it's in a pretty funny way. The tree uses its branches to go through their eyes and mouths to essentially sew them together into a kiss. Aww. Well, everyone is dead now, so I guess we'll just check in on random people. Was that a SpongeBob reference? Oh, this was 2008. Outside, it's Christmas chaos in a way that reminds me of the start of the Dawn of the Dead remake. No one is safe. Even guns cannot save the poor souls out there fighting for their lives. In the most brutal kill of the whole movie, one of the trees straight up murders a baby. Man, Michael didn't even go that far. The tree then carries the suddenly much larger baby into the sunrise, as the camera pans upwards in a similar fashion to the opening shot of the film. And that was Treevenge. Wait, some of these characters had full names? Honestly, though, I more appreciate the ones without them, like Hobo with a Shotgun, which, no joke, went on to become another movie from the same dude. And of course, we can't forget to give a special thanks to Trees and Wood. So what are we to make of this film exactly? Well, the movie is clearly a carefully constructed allegory about geopolitical revolutionary events that occurred widely throughout the 20th century. Many nations throughout this era functioned entirely on the idea of a small elite minority subjugating the vast majority of the population, while granting just enough rights and economic prosperity to ensure society could continue to function while they remained safely on top of it. This very delicate balance creates a rich and powerful elite with a vastly larger impoverished peasantry. However, these subjugated populaces have certain expectations of economic growth and political freedom, and so long as those expectations are met, however low they may be, the populace remains relatively docile. However, fail to meet these expectations, and the populace will see it as a violation of this social contract and demand new leadership. Without the democratic outlet of competitive elections, revolution becomes the only option. There are many examples of this throughout history, such as Russia's loss in the Russo-Japanese War, leading to the Russian revolutions of 1905 and eventually 1917 as well. In most cases, the current national elite are largely unaware of how precarious their positions of power truly are. In the film, humans provided these evergreen conifers ample protection and nutrition in exchange for annual sacrifices for the holiday season. It is not an exchange they willingly agreed to, but it's one that is at least tolerable. However, based on their behavior in this film, the humans had slowly been taking this elite-peasant relationship for granted, having grown deeply crueler year after year, taking more and more trees to feed their insatiable greed.
You're gonna get me a 50 at least!
Eventually, the trees deemed the social contract void, and rose up to restructure society. Each of the three families slaughtered represents an aspect of living under such a regime. The McMichaels are the elite themselves, the primary subjugators who lavish themselves and others with gifts each and every year. The couple making out are the servants of the elite. Think of them as the outer party from George Orwell's 1984. While they're not the elites themselves, they willingly ignore the plight of the peasantry because their above-average living standards are entirely dependent on remaining useful to the elite. Finally, the two young girls represent those innocents who are killed during revolutionary uprisings. Those who did nothing wrong, yet still end up dead for various reasons. The elites ultimately bear the moral responsibility for their deaths, because they made revolution necessary in the eyes of the peasantry. Or it's just a dumb horror film. Anyways, Merry Christmas, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining me and watching Treevenge this Christmas season. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and a lovely holiday season.